His time at Channel 9 was coming to an end.
And so this was the backup plan?
This was the backup plan. And it's been a very successful backup plan thus far.
Hello and welcome to Unserious, of course the podcast where we discuss the biggest stories of the week, the smallest controversies and the most terminally online conversations. Now, I'm obviously not Liz Burke, who would normally be sitting in this chair.
Yeah, that makes sense.
She's away on holiday. I'm Sky News host Caleb Bond, who's normally sitting over here.
Hi.
Which brings me to who we've got this week, of course, Mary Madigan, Sky News. What am I talking about? News.com.au reporter.
That's me.
We'll get you there eventually.
One day she'll be there.
We're working on it. But sitting in my normal chair, look who we've found. It's 2GB breakfast host Ben Fordham. Welcome,
Hello.
Ben.
Hey, Caleb. Hey, Mary.
Hi, Ben.
It's great to be with both of you.
Thanks for
Great to have
coming.
you here.
No worries. I'm a
Really
big
appreciate
fan
it.
of the podcast.
I know
so-
you've been watching all the clips on social media.
Yeah,
and-
watching and listening, and there's something about this podcast. So I'm very,
you
very
go.
thrilled to be here. I've got a way of kind of finding my way onto podcasts that I like by sometimes suggesting maybe I should drop in one day and watch the behind the scenes, and then they go, oh, you can be a guest on it if you want. So it's worked quite well.
So you've manifested this. is
I've
what you're
manifested this, absolutely.
It's good for you to get out of the house, I feel.
Thank you very much. I feel like this is going to be a bit of a contest sitting across from Mary.
Why?
Well, you kind of call Caleb out along the way, which I think he needs a bit of. So this time
thanks,
it's
man.
my turn.
Yeah,
so
well,
I'm
we'll
looking
see.
forward to it.
Maybe you'll be charming.
And I love the tie.
Yeah, no, it's my dad's tie.
For the
Oh, lovely.
podcasters who are listening only and not watching.
You'll like this, Ben, because it shows how relatable I am. It's a Gucci tie.
Oh,
Whey.
Gucci.
Oh.
You need to have a look at the video so you can see this gorgeous
Yeah, it's
tie.
gorgeous, but my dad is dead, so it's a sad story.
Rest
See?
in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. Yeah.
I should have brought my Gucci tie in as well.
Do you
It
have a
could have
Gucci
been-
tie?
I do have a Gucci tie.
I couldn't afford to buy my own.
But
I've had to wait. I've had to wait for someone
But
to
it's
die.
got the little Gucci logo on it. It's not
Yeah,
a
yeah,
fancy
yeah,
pattern like
yeah,
that.
Who are
yeah.
you dressed by, Caleb? Do you have a designer or something that looks after
Well,
your...
at Sky News,
I
I'm,
think
I'm,
it's just like a ghost that dresses you.
No, at Sky, I'm dressed by Nadia Benusi. of
Oh, the
course.
famous
you
Nadia.
Would, you would,
She's happy with this.
yeah. Well, she bought this jacket and she bought this shirt.
Okay,
and
so this
this is all stuff she's bought.
Okay,
and the
so you're
pocket square.
actually styled.
Yeah, yeah.
That is
Look,
quite-
I go a bit more wild when I'm, left to my own devices.
with the
but
hats.
But at work I sort of get directed. But anyway, we have to deal with these things. Now, normally you do AOB, any other business, at the end of proceedings, but you've got some business to attend to, Mary?
We want to know who your favourite is, Ben. Is it me or Caleb? I think it's me.
geez,
I feel
that's
actually.
I'd say that Mary Madigan's certainly the flavour of the month.
Oh,
Hey, hang on.
However,
Okay.
Caleb and I have got a lot of history in that I put
Okay,
Caleb on radio when he was how old?
Like 15 or
no
something?
one
about
cares about your
15.
boys' club. Okay, I'll
Listen,
put
Mary,
it to you like this.
Mary,
no, I wanna
I've
put it
been
to you-
asked a question. Can you give me an opportunity to
Can
answer
I,
it,
can I
please?
give you a scenario?
Please,
though?
Mary, can you give me an
All
opportunity
right,
to answer
all
it?
right, all right.
We were talking about someone other than Mary for a
Yes,
moment.
yes.
And that's your co-host, Caleb.
Yes.
When he was only 15, I identified that this kid had talent and I put him on the radio and I called him Australia's youngest political commentator. So I'm partly to blame
Yeah.
for the Caleb Bond story.
You've used the word blame, which is good. What I want to put to you is if we were both drowning in the sea and you could only save one of us, who would you
Sure.
save?
That's
No, that's
impossible.
No,
Yeah.
it's not impossible.
I would save both of you.
No, you can't. You've got to pick
I
one.
can't
Correct
make a
answer.
decision on that.
Oh, no, come on. You're being offensive.
Well, I'd probably save you.
Okay, yes, that's the right answer.
I'd probably save you.
Yes.
Now, why is that?
Because
Ben?
I'm
I
adorable.
think that Mary has more of a vibe of needing saving.
That's probably true as well. I'm a stronger swimmer
Fair
than him,
call.
for sure.
You know.
I'm definitely a stronger swimmer than you.
Are you now?
You don't seem like you could swim. I
What
say
do
that
you
with
mean I don't seem like I could swim?
You just seem like you would get carried away in a current. You have that vibe about you.
Okay, right. And you wouldn't?
I'm from the coast. Yeah, I can actually swim quite well.
Well, there you go. So you need to save me, apparently.
I am enormously proud of both of you. I'm not going to claim as much credit for Mary because, in fact, I can't claim any
You
for
can't
Mary.
actually claim any. I was
But
going to have to say that.
But I have jumped on the Mary Madigan
You are.
bandwagon
But
You
you've
quite
given
heavily.
Mary a few quotes, haven't you? So you could take credit for the
Oh,
clicks.
well,
and-
I've
You got stories for yeah. If I
I've
bring in for a
spoken
quote,
about Mary on the radio a few times, and if Mary wants a quote on something, I give her a quote. Whereas other journalists are easier to say no to, but if Mary's on the phone and she wants something, you kind of feel like, hang on, it's going to be a lose-lose here unless I just front up and say
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah,
that's the way I've tended to operate with Mary, and it's been great watching you guys rise.
Thank you.
Oh,
So
that's
you're,
very
congratulations.
kind.
thank you. But
You're
you're
doing
scared of
You're
me.
doing okay too.
I'm not scared of Mary.
No,
I just
he's scared
find
of me.
her challenging. You know, and it's the same as a lot of anyone I've got respect for. You know, you tend to find that you've got to be on your game when you're talking to them professionally because they're thinking a few steps ahead and they're not going to accept your first answer. Whereas some journalists, when they ring you, you give them an answer and they go, okay, and then they move on. Mary goes, hang on a moment, that doesn't make sense. So she's got that great pushback quality.
Good. That's
which I
what we
think
like.
you need in a journalist.
Yeah.
That's what we like.
See, this is why Ben would save me. He's in love with me.
That might be. Are you in love with Mary? We need to confirm.
Yes, I am.
There we go.
There we go.
All right.
I
We've,
am. In fact, I sent a text message to Mick Carroll, the boss of news.com.au, after I met Mary, because I'd been reading her stuff, and then I said, look, we better have a coffee. So we caught up and had a coffee, and I asked her a few questions about her past, because I thought, how do you become who you are? And without going into the full Mary Madigan story right now, because that's going to be a separate news.com.au podcast called The Mary Madigan Story.
Yeah.
But after that, I sent a
Hosted by
text to
Mary
Mick
Madigan.
saying, there's something about Mary Madigan.
There you
Oh,
go.
you've worked on that?
I don't know what it is, but there's something about Mary. And there just is. Let's face it. I think we all know it.
There you go.
So,
Now,
yeah.
of course, the biggest story, the one thing everyone's talking about, Karl Stefanovic, gone from the
Yeah,
Today Show
yeah.
at Channel 9. You were talking to him not long before all of this happened, Mary.
Sort of by happenstance, not happenstance. I've been asking for a while, like, could I come and spend a day with you? Could I spend? Because I just feel like when you get someone on the phone, you get a really brief thing, and I wanted to understand how the whole podcast was working, and kind of like how involved is he? How involved is his producers? Like, what makes the show work, and what kind of how planned in is, how thought is it, like how much time is it taking up, all those sorts of things. So I spent the day with him, and I did ask him quite a few times, like I think the question everyone was asking, which is how does Nine feel about this? And he maintained to me that they were fine, that he had never been spoken to, and that, he was, he sort of conceded like, oh, look, there might be murmurs in the hallway, but, my side of the street is clean, Nine's completely fine with what I'm doing. I did push back a little bit on that, but he maintained that answer. And it's interesting because I have spoken to other people at Nine that would say differently, that he had been spoken to management just about the fact that the podcast was beginning to kind of push the envelope. Like, it sort of started out, I think it started out pretty reasonable. Like, he might have Pauline Hanson on, but then he might have Jacinda Ardern on. Like, I didn't think it was particularly biased either way, but then it did seem to kind of go on to this less mainstream idea. And I think what people were most critical of was definitely like the Pete Evans one. And people's issue with that was not so much that he had Pete Evans on, but that he didn't really ask him any tough questions. And I did put that to Karl. I said, do you feel like you're platforming these people by not asking them the tough questions? And he was like, no, I don't feel that. Doesn't mean I agree with everyone I have on, but, it's my show and I can ask. I mean, he said, what the fuck I want, I believe.
I think he said to you in your interview, I can do whatever the
It's
F
my
I
fucking
want.
show, yeah. And I also even just thought it was interesting at the time, like, he obviously knew we were on record. He was swearing a lot, which I have no problem with. It doesn't personally offend me, but I was like, this seems very un-Nine, like, to be sort of like, it's my fucking... So even though in one hand he was like, yeah, everything's fine with Nine, and I really respect Nine, and I really value the years I've had, and I do think he believed that. On the other hand, it's kind of like when you're dating someone and they tell you that they love you, but then they forget your birthday. Like, it sort of felt like he was saying all the right things.
What?
No.
What?
Like, it was
And
Have you ever been in that position,
No,
Ben?
and the other thing too, Mary pulled him aside and said, when you go to the UK, I've got an idea. You should
Yeah.
interview Tommy Robinson. And that's why I maintain it's great to have Mary around, but when she gives you advice, just be a little bit
Just think
careful
about it for a
because
minute.
Yeah.
Carl spent one day with her.
And now it's all
And now
over.
he's
Look
gone.
what's happened.
It's the
Now it's all
domino.
over.
It's the domino effect. But I suppose, you know him very well, don't you, Ben? You've
I've
worked with him
known
for
Carl.
years.
In fact, the first time I saw Karl on TV, I wrote his name down in my diary because I knew that this guy was going to be a star. I just remember, I heard the voiceover, was listening to the writing, then he popped up and did the piece to camera, and I remember thinking, wow, who's this guy? So I just wrote his name down, Karl Stefanovic. And the first time I met him, I told him, I said, mate, you're going to think I'm gay, but the first time I saw you on TV, I wrote your name down in my diary, which he did think was incredibly gay. And yeah, we've been mates ever since. And I maintain, I think Karl is the most talented live, on-the-spot correspondent in Australia. A lot of people forget that because we've seen him in all of these other roles in recent years where he's kind of either the Today Show host, the funny man, the podcaster or whatever. What we haven't seen Karl do in a long time is what Karl does best, which is plonk Karl in the middle of any emergency natural disaster, whatever it might be, political scandal, and he can host and talk and compare and keep everything going like no one I've ever seen. And that's why I give him that rap as being one of the best correspondents around. Sadly, you can't earn the kind of money that Karl wants to earn as a correspondent. You've got to be a host. And that's what he's had this role now for 20 plus years at the Today Show. I did 4 with him on the Today Show every morning. He works really hard. How he's managed to fit in the podcast with the Today Show, I've got no idea. I did 4 years of the Today Show in the morning and drive time radio in the afternoon. But that drive time radio was in the same studio every day. Karl's podcast has taken him, okay, you're in London one week, then you're out at Barnaby Joyce's the next week, then you're up at Jacinta Price's joining the Northern Territory the next, and you're hosting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not surprised that maybe on some of these podcast interviews, he hasn't asked the questions that he otherwise might have asked, because he's probably completely and utterly exhausted after working these 2 jobs and being a father as well and a husband. So I'm not trying to make excuses for questions that maybe should have been asked that weren't asked. At the end of the day, it's his podcast with his name on it. And I think with that comes your right to be able to ask what you want to ask and what you don't want to ask. And if people choose to tune in, they can. When it's news.com.au on the microphone or the Today Show on the desk, I think you've got to fit in with that brand and within those parameters. When it's your show, your name, I understand why Karl thinks, well, I should be able to do what I want.
And I suppose part of the issue here as well is that he did a deal with Nine that allowed him to go
Correct.
and do it. And now he finds himself in a position where there is actually a tension, I suppose, between those 2 ideas. Like, you're trying to be a mainstream breakfast TV host with all of the stuff that comes with, and then do the independent thing on the side. There is, even though Nine let him do it, and then ultimately let him go for doing it, there is a tension between those 2, right?
Yeah, and I think the tension ultimately just became too much, right? I think it was probably fair on both accounts. I guess what I find fascinating about this, and it's the Karl Stefanovic against the Karl Sandilands of it all, is like, is it now just more feasible, or is it going to become more feasible for people to go out on their own instead of having to answer to these big companies that have all those rules? Like, do you think it's a good move by Karl?
It's more feasible if you don't want any stress in your life coming from the bosses. It's not as financially stable as working for Channel 9 or ARN. And if you're used to earning millions of dollars...
maybe not ARN.
Well, yeah, maybe not because of the state that they're in, but
Yeah.
if you're used to earning millions of dollars a year, and then all of a sudden it's your name on the front of the office, whether that's the Karl Sandilands show or the Karl Stefanovic show, you've got to go out and find that money.
Would you ever go out on your own as a Ben Fordham
Oh,
show?
I'm not in a rush to do so. I think my next move is probably unlikely to be my own solo project. And for this simple reason, I think Karl and Kyle have enjoyed being part of a corporate structure for a long time, because it means when you say, let's go and do the show in the UK, someone else is paying for it. When you say, let's interview this person, but it's going to involve the camera crew and we're going to do this stunt, we're going to do whatever, someone else is paying for it. Flights, accommodation, camera crews, recording services, studios, microphones, light, camera, action. Someone else is paying for all of it. Now Kyle and Karl are going to be paying for all of it. And you've got to make the salary that you have been accustomed to earning, plus everyone else's salaries, plus all of the other costs involved. If you can make it work, fantastic. But it's a challenge. It's going to be a financial challenge for them. They may have to take a pay cut.
So why do you think Karl did it? I mean, it's been well reported that, his time at the Today Show was going to be up at the end of the year anyway. He signed a 1-year contract.
I think they were
and
certainly
that was probably going to be it. But like,
to
why did he?
renegotiate.
Well, he may have. I mean, he's not
No,
going to do
his
it now,
time
is he?
his time at Channel 9 was coming to an end.
And so this was the backup plan?
This was the backup plan. And it's been a very successful backup plan thus far, because it's been a hugely successful podcast. And I think the idea was, and I don't know, but I think the idea was create your own brand, and at least then when you're negotiating with a future employer, you're not coming in empty-handed. You can say, hey, I bring with me a podcast that's got this many subscribers and listeners. So that would make you a bit more attractive to that other company. But he's got a standalone podcast now and YouTube channel that's doing very well. And I'd say that'll become his focus, and he'll try and pair that now with some other media jobs. I still maintain that I think Karl and Kyle, for very different reasons, could make it in the United States. I've always been convinced with Karl. I can remember being in New York with him years ago on a number of occasions when they took the Today Show on the road. And I remember saying to him, if there was one guy I've met in Australia in the TV business who could make it in America, it's you. There's no doubt. He almost sounds a little bit American. Don't you reckon Karl's kind of got a 10% American kind of twang? You can't really hear it, but if you pay attention to it, you realise if you put this guy on American TV, he's not going to sound like...
That's called a private school accent.
It's not a private school accent.
It's called a private school accent.
Here we go. It's the class warfare from Mary Madigan. Poor Karl.
Called.
He's had a tough week, Mary.
He has.
Okay.
He still went to private school. I went to public.
I would suggest that Karl would very easily switch to an American TV audience.
Yeah.
And that people wouldn't kind of go, oh, this guy sounds weird. He sounds like some bogan Australian. And Kyle is a Donald Trump fan. Are you telling me that if Kyle went to America after the ARN thing fell apart and said to Joe Rogan and all the other podcast bros, hey, listen, this is the broadcaster who was too hot for Australia, they cancelled him, and he loves Donald Trump, that he wouldn't end up on Rogan and all the other podcasts? I think Kyle could make it in America. I think Karl could make it in America, and I think very few people in Australia could.
Indeed. The thing, though, with the rise of independent media, which is big in the US, but the US has a much larger population. So you can essentially cater to a smaller audience and still make lots of money. We've got, 28 million people in Australia. Does it work here long term? Like, because we're all working for mainstream media companies. You're at 2GB, I'm at Sky News.
That's the challenge.
Like, does it actually work?
We don't know yet. I would say that so far the evidence is it's going to be a challenge for anyone. There are some podcasts that do well and do make money, but generally they're part of a bigger structure. And keep in mind, the people who've set up their own media companies and podcasts in America, Caleb, haven't always done it through their own choice. So if we're talking about Tucker Carlson, he lost his job. If we're talking about Megyn Kelly, she lost a job. You're talking about Piers Morgan, he lost his job. So they lost their jobs with mainstream media companies, then they set up their own podcasts. It's not like they chose to do it. So Karl set his up before leaving the structure of a major company. Kyle set his up afterwards, but most of the time you're setting it up after the fact because you need a vehicle and your other car's been stolen from you by the company you previously worked for.
Is the free speech argument, you think, a legitimate one in the case of
course
Karl?
it is.
Because it's the problem. I go back to what the contract said. If he had a deal that said he could go and do it, then I suppose he was within his rights to go and do it. But the argument that's now been set up as though, he's been cancelled essentially for what he said on his podcast. Has he been cancelled, or was it just a bit too hot for Nine to handle commercially? Like, is it actually about the free speech, or is it about you can't sell the ads?
Karl's podcast was set up on the basis that it was the Karl Stefanovic show and he could say what he wanted to say on it and have on who he wanted to have on. Along the way, Nine started getting heat over what was happening on that podcast, and they've obviously expressed that to Karl. But you need to keep in mind, you can't give someone an independent project and then turn around at 5:15 and say, oh, we don't like that guest, we didn't like that question, or the lack of these questions. I think the smarter play from Nine would have been to say, hey, buddy, you work for us and you can set up your other project once you're no longer working for us. I gather what's happened somewhere along the way, and I'm not privy to Karl's pay negotiations, is that somewhere along the way they've said to him, look, we can't pay you what we used to pay you. And Karl said, well, if I'm taking a cut, you've got to allow me to set something else up on the side to make up the money that I'm losing through this deal. I gather that's how it's all happened. But you'd know, you've spent a day with him.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't going to tell me about his salary contract negotiations, but I think he basically made it clear that during the negotiations, that was part of it, right? There was a bit of argy-bargy, and he was like, okay, well, give me this, and then I'll do this. I've heard it's more about the fact that they didn't offer him a multi-year deal. So he was like, if you're not going to offer me a multi-year deal, then I need to go and do my own thing. But I've also heard that they were kind of prepared to keep him on in some capacity in sort of a legacy way. So, and I don't know what that kind of paycheck looks like in 2026. It probably looks very differently than even it did 10 years ago.
Sure.
So maybe he thought, yeah, you might be able to stay on and pay me $1 million or $500,000 to retain me, and I can do a few odd stories, but that's not enough to pay my bills.
And you know what, Mary? Those kind of deals are fast disappearing appearing in TV.
Yeah, and that's what you
Once
hear.
upon a time, you could warehouse people.
Yes, I love that term.
Oh, I've always wanted to be warehoused.
Yes.
Oh, mate,
I think
wish
there
there
are a
was
few
a warehouse.
people who have been warehoused recently,
Yeah.
but we won't talk too much
I just
about
want to
that.
be someone that everyone's like, so what does she do?
Yeah, what does
Just,
Mary
you know,
do exactly?
On gardening leave,
Yeah,
you know,
oh,
just enjoying the high life on the company's money.
Who's been sacked? Because I've never been sacked, and I
I've
remember,
been sacked multiple times.
Have you?
Yeah. No, I've been fired a lot.
Yeah, because my dad said to me once, he goes, mate, you haven't made it until someone's tapped you on the shoulder and told you to put all your belongings in a cardboard box.
You're still
And-
waiting.
And when you know you're important is when they walk you out.
I haven't been walked out, but I have been fired by Roxy Jacinko,
Oh.
which I think is it's a good claim to fame, isn't it?
Yeah. What did you do wrong, or was it
I
Roxy's
don't
fault?
think I did. I don't know. I think it probably wasn't a good match. Like,
Oh, she went to a private
There was
school.
There was a
That's
clash of
right.
personalities.
Yeah.
Shall we
it's funny
say?
because we actually get on, and I think she found me very amusing. But to be honest, I just sucked at the job. I needed a job. I was in between, so I got a PR job. I sucked at it. Like I really did suck.
I
Well, at
think
least you
also
admit it.
in that kind of environment to have two big personalities. in
I
the
was
one
like her
room.
diversity hire. Everyone else was like blonde and thin, and I lived in Newtown. They like couldn't get over it. She was like, "Really, Dal? You're going back to Newtown?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm off." But yeah, no, I sucked, and at the time I was like so upset because I was actually trying. But you look back and you're like, "That was great." Like I needed to get out of there.
And you know what? That's probably where Karl is at the moment. Regardless of how it happened or why it happened or the circumstances that led to it, it's time. You can tell from Karl he's ready to do something else. It's time for him to take on a new challenge. So I think in the end it's going to be good for him and good for them.
While we're talking about getting the sack, sometimes you sack a partner. Now, you have received a text message from an ex,
Yeah,
Mary, that
okay.
you're a bit perturbed by.
No, it's weirder than just a text, all right? We parted on good terms. Like, I mean, look, maybe at the time we didn't, but now it's fine. And he's like, I won't give too much away, but he's like a dumb tradie, right? That's fine.
Oh, the
Are
class
we-
warfare continues.
Tradies are dumb.
He happens to be a dumb tradie, not tradies are dumb.
Right, okay.
He happens to
What's
be.
this gentleman's name?
I'm not going to say his name.
Well, let's give him a nickname.
Oh, okay.
Dumb tradie.
No, well, yeah, dumb tradie.
Dumb tradie,
Dumb
okay.
tradie, right? Anyway, and we don't really keep in touch, but every now and then, which amuses me to no end, because he's actually was like he's quite funny. He will like
Oh.
voice memo me like a life update of himself,
Voice memo.
but it's usually him being like, yeah, like, so one of the guys was like calling this girl a slut on site, and I said like, you can't actually say that. That's actually really not right. And then he'll voice it with me, and he'll be like, and that's because like you told me not to say that. And
Oh, what a lovely bloke.
no, he's like learned. He's like, I can't call women sluts. Like that's the impact I left on him.
Wow.
How old would this young man be?
Oh, he'd be like 33 now. Or
Well, the
something.
fact that he's worked all of this out by 33.
He's an
I think
absolute
is pretty
genius.
amazing.
What a
yeah,
chap.
no. And so honestly, we couldn't be together because we were too on the same level. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we'd go to a party and we'd both be like, it was a lot. You know?
It's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot for
I'm
both
not
of
sure
us.
I quite follow.
No,
but
I don't
anyway.
either, but I'm just
What-
nodding
what do
along.
you-
But I'm
what do
just
you- when you-
thinking, this man is quite a remarkable. I'd like to meet him.
No, he's hot. He's hot.
Oh.
And so anyway, so we went out for a while. It didn't really work out. So sad.
and he learned out of all the time you spent together. How long were you together?
like on and off, like a year
And he learned through you that it's not cool to say derogatory things to
about women. Yeah, no, that was a big learning curve for him.
Big
No, he
turning
worked
point.
out that it wasn't enough to just not say anything.
You should speak up.
You should call it out. Like,
Good
see
on him.
something, say something. And that he could, like, control the culture at work. Like, if he makes it seem uncool.
But
then
what does it
becomes
seem to
uncool.
you, Caleb? What do we think about checking in with the ex with a voice memo? Full stop. Forget
Well-
about the content.
Well, I mean, clearly he's still thinking about Mary,
I think
isn't
so.
he? And indeed, when he does these things, he goes, I've done that because Mary told me to do it.
Hmm.
So she is on his mind, it would seem, quite a bit of the time. He
This is
may
what I'm
well
getting
still
to.
have the hots for you.
Oh, well, it gets weirder, right? So, and I, like, these voice memos amuse me, and I will, like, voice memo him back very occasionally, and we have a bit of a laugh, and then that's kind of it, right? Anyway, he messaged me on the day, and he's like, hey, I just want to give you, like, a bit of a life update. I've been with a girl for a while now, and we're going to have a baby, right? And I was like, great,
Wow.
congratulations, right? Like, good for you. Like, that's really nice. He's like,
That's
I
a
just wanted...
development.
He's like, I just wanted you to know I don't want you to fight out on social with everyone else. And I was like, no, thanks. And like, I'm really happy for you and you'll be a lovely dad, which I actually think he will be a lovely dad. Anyway, time moves on, right? Maybe like 3-4 months. And then he sent me the other day the sonogram photo. Do you think that's weird?
Hugely.
Yes. Yes. He said, oh, like, look, it's like really happening. And that's what he said. Look, it's really happening. And he sent me the sonogram photo.
Okay, that is odd.
Yeah, no,
Like-
it's odd.
So he's thinking about his ex-girlfriend all the time.
And he's sending me a
and
sonogram.
when he's doing things on the work, I did that because Mary taught me to do it.
Yeah.
Then he tells you
Yeah.
he's having a kid with someone else,
Yes.
and then he wants to.
I'm just
What?
imagining the scene because you're in there, you're getting
I
the
think
ultrasound.
it's really private.
You're getting the ultrasound, right?
Yeah.
And you have this because it's a very personal moment between man and woman, which in the
Okay.
old days, that's what was required to have a baby. I know times have changed in your world, but back in the olden days when Caleb and I grew up,
Yeah.
a man and a woman produced a baby,
Yeah,
right? And they're in a
yes.
room together, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's a medical expert there, and they put the gel over the
Yeah.
woman's tummy, and they put the machine up, and it pops up the ultrasound. His thought was, I better text Mary and tell her.
Yes.
What the?
That's weird.
It's weird, isn't it?
He's still into you.
No, I don't necessarily think that. I think he's attached. But I just thought it was very, like, if I was pregnant and my boyfriend was sending photos of I would kill him.
I would
Yeah.
absolutely kick
That's
them out of the room and
bizarre.
say, what are you doing?
Well, I would.
In
well,
fact, there should be signs up on the wall that say,
No.
don't text your ex.
it's just, it's very
No, they
weird.
shouldn't need to be signs
No,
on the
but
wall
just
that
as a
say
safety.
"Don't text your ex."
As a safety, because if you do it, you deserve to lose the woman who's about to give birth to your child.
I think it's quite deranged behavior. And I was
Hmm.
like, how do I reply? Like, what do I?
Having said that, I am very happy for exes when they have a baby.
That's because you're a hero.
Oh, God. See?
You
Why
allowed
would
You know,
anyone,
look,
why would anyone sign up for
how
this?
do you feel? That's how I feel every week sitting in that
Unbelievable.
chair
Do
there.
you keep in contact with your exes? I feel like you
Not
would.
regular contact, no.
But
Oh, it depends who they are. Like some of my ones who I might have been like boyfriend and girlfriend at school, where you're kind of a girlfriend and a boyfriend for 3 weeks and nothing really happens. And, I run into them and say hi and stay in touch with some of them. I don't kind of go out of my way to catch up, but I like to know what's going on and like to know that they're happy. And if one of them, look, for example, I had an ex-girlfriend who wrote a book and I thought, in normal circumstances, it was a book about meat.
I was going to say about me.
About meat. But I remember when she wrote this book, I thought, it's a good book. It's like the Bible of meat.
Right.
And, there are a lot of meat eaters out there. So I thought
I'm
I should.
actually interested. in
Yeah,
that.
so I ended up doing an interview with her on the radio show. And when I contacted her publisher to say, would she like to come on, she contacted me and said, is this a piss take? And I said, no, you've got a book out. I want to
Did you
promote
ask
it.
your wife if she would care? Were you
No.
married at the time?
No, yeah, I was married.
And you didn't run it by her?
No, not at all.
I wouldn't be happy with that.
Why?
I would send, if you were my husband, I would send you a nasty text message.
What, to say what? How dare you get your ex on to promote her
I
book
would have
on
said,
me?
enjoy your life with your new girlfriend.
Oh, honey,
on.
honey,
I wouldn't have liked that.
honey.
Because I
That's
think
why we're not meant to be.
that's why we're not meant to be. But I also
Because
think
I enjoy my freedom.
your freedom to interview your
Yes.
ex-girlfriend about her meat
Yes.
book.
It's just
Yes.
work.
Yeah, oh, it's just work.
It
No.
is just
But
work.
also, why would you take a personal
I would take
position against someone just because they're an ex?
Oh, I would definitely would.
Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you celebrate their wins? If
I'm-
they've written a book,
I'm
if
not a good person.
they become a published author, I don't agree with that. If they're a published author, I want to give them a rap and
I
why
don't.
not
I don't want
help
to give
them
them a
sell
rap
some books.
at all. And I don't want my boyfriend to maintain a relationship with his ex-partners.
When
at
was the
all.
last time you saw Dumb Tradie?
Yeah. Oh, actually, so funny. He was working nearby, and I ran into him.
You just happened to drive
I
past.
drive
That's-
past.
yeah.
No, I fell down.
So they're thinking about each
You
other.
fell over now.
I always
Hang on.
hang
a
on.
moment.
Can I tell you the story?
Oh, this is just getting.
No,
Yeah, you fell
it's
over.
so-
He rescued
No,
you.
no, he didn't rescue me. I fell over, and when your bag contents goes, well, you probably don't.
This
but
is
my
a
bag
movie.
Can, no.
Unbelievable.
It's like when Harry met Sally.
Seriously?
And his apprentice was helping me. I didn't know it was his apprentice. But hilariously, I had all these bags of. Do you guys know what Ural is?
No.
Okay, so I constantly, a fun fact about me is I'm always, about to battle a UTI.
Yep.
And Ural is, what you take as, your face. Ural is what you take as, medication to make it not hurt, right?
Okay,
So
right.
it's a deeply, embarrassing thing to have
Yeah.
in your bag.
Have a sip of your drink. Caleb's
Would
in
you
trouble.
file that under TMI?
And all this Ural was out of my bag, and this
Yeah.
young kid was helping me. He's like, "What's Ural?" And I was like, "Oh, it's UTI."
Don't
medication."
ask.
Anyway, and as
Mate, even the apprentice is dumb.
anyway, and
God.
as I was explaining to this 17-year-old what Ural was, and he was loving it.
What a sexy conversation.
He's like, I don't get paid enough for this.
He was genuinely scared. Anyway, dumb trader came out of the house, went, "What's going on?" And he went, "Oh my God, it's Mary." And then we were chatting, but that was ages ago.
Right.
But he was like, of course, you've got like, you're all out in the street.
What about, can I ask Caleb, do you stay in contact with exes?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
You still follow your exes on Instagram, I think.
Unless you like hate each other for some obvious reason.
Do you hate any of your exes?
No. I don't have a reason to. And so, like, you mightn't talk every day. You might talk very sporadically.
Oh, so you
because there is a reason to do so.
Them?
Yeah, if there's a reason to do so.
What would be a reason for
Like
you?
when they ring and go, can you please come and pick up your cat?
Yeah.
Like, Caleb, seriously.
Yeah.
It's been living here for 4 years.
Yeah.
And you're trying to leave this as a link
Yeah.
between the two of us.
I have the cats.
Oh, do you?
He took the cats. He took
I
cat
took the
custody.
cats.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've got the cats.
You're like
Was
scandalised
that part of
by
the
this.
breakup? Was that?
Yeah.
Was there an argument about who got the cats?
No, I offered, because there were 2 cats, and I offered to split them. And
Oh,
so you take
terrible.
Oh, like the Parent Trap.
God.
Well, no.
That's the worst thing you could possibly do to the cat.
Well, okay, no.
quite cruel.
To be fair, one of them had been hers for a very long time, and there was one that had only been on the scene for like 6 months.
And you were going to keep
And
the
so I
6
thought
months?
I would, yes.
Typical man, go for the
she
younger
could-
one.
She could take her cat, and she said, "No, I don't want to split them up. I'd prefer if they stayed with you."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, right.
and I thought that was really nice.
I would advise against anyone. I know that this is not strictly a relationship podcast. In fact, it's not at all. But I would just advise against anyone out there to buy pets together or property together unless they're married.
Oh, when we got our dog, we'd only been together for like a year, and I said like it's my dog. Like I made it clear. I
Right.
was like, I will take the dog if we break up.
Isn't that planting the seed that there's probably
I
going
know.
to be a breakup?
I just didn't want to like lose custody of the dog.
Do you? Mary mentioned that you still follow your exes on Instagram.
Yeah, you
Do they
can't-
follow you as well?
You'd be following
Unless-
and liking if I know you.
But
Unless
how do you?
there's-
I'm not a big liker.
You aren't. You never like any of my
But
posts.
also, how do you know who he follows and who?
I checked the other day when we
You
were going to do this
checked?
This is some
segment.
weird stalkery
Yeah,
stuff.
as if I like to have a lot of information.
I would never know who follows
Yeah,
who
but you're a
on
middle-aged man. Like, of course you're not meant to. It would be very weird. I need to have all the intel.
what. Right. So it's
straight-
normal for me not to know.
Yeah, it's not. Straight men shouldn't know that. That's why I also think, for instance, like my boyfriend Seamus, he puts so little effort into his social media or texting back his closest friends that if he was
Yeah.
texting an ex-girlfriend, that would be weird.
Yes.
Right.
Because he texts no one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so that it would be way more effort
Alarm
for him
bells are going.
to ask.
Mary's
Fair
called
enough.
out me before on my texting.
What, for not texting
Oh,
back?
yeah, you're not a good texter.
Yeah, I like on one
Not a good
particular day,
texter.
I
Didn't
surprise,
text back.
surprise, I've got a few other things in my life happening
Oh,
apart from Mary
not to
Madigan.
mention the show and the family.
So I'm like, the family? Yes, I've got a wife and children
Yeah, I know.
and a radio show.
I know, and apparently it takes priority.
And I
Yeah.
go,
Funny
well,
about
I'm
that.
sorry, Mary, I'm just a little bit caught up at the moment. I've got a few other things happening in my
Oh,
life.
you've got nothing going on.
On another day, I sent an ex, like a kiss,
Yeah.
right back, and she
Yeah.
goes, so that's all I get.
Oh!
What more do you want?
Well, she's calling me babe in emails and stuff as well. We talked
that's
about this
cute.
a few
Oh,
weeks
that's friendly.
ago.
It was
That's-
friendly.
You
I
know,
called her honey before.
Well, were you fine with that?
Yeah, I'm going to tell the Daily Mail that we're secretly dating, and then I'm going to like release a really angry statement about the rumors.
Oh, yeah.
And I will
here we
obviously,
go.
I will leak it, and then
That's
I will
good.
do like a damning statement,
Mm.
and then hopefully they can do like a really good like photo of us like Photoshop together.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm
So
liking
it's,
that.
it's you who's been giving information
You, like,
to the Daily Mail.
the
At
idea-
least now I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. The
Yeah.
idea would be for you to be caught crying in your car somewhere. That would be
Perfect.
perfect. Crying in the
Perfect.
Mercedes. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Thank you.
while we're talking about these things, there would be an etiquette. I'm not sure if there would be any real etiquette to like leaking to a press organisation.
No,
about
I
your
think that's modern
relationship.
problems.
That's a bit odd, but I have here a rather interesting little booklet.
Oh, yes.
Now,
This is up my alley, I can
now,
tell.
Ben
Oh, yeah.
loves
It's
this.
old and white. Look at it.
And all the things that Mary hates.
Yeah.
And I've been saying for weeks I'm going to bring this thing in, and I've never done it.
Yeah,
But
it's Ben's
finally getting
pedigree.
it. Now, this is years ago. Dad was cleaning out the shed at home
Yeah.
and found this book.
And he thought, what weirdo would want it? Caleb.
It's called Instant Etiquette, and it was published in, where is it, 1968.
I love it.
Ooh, what are your
And
favourite
it's-
rules?
And it's got all sorts of stuff. I mean, we could be here for days going through all this stuff.
Oh, I reckon
But
we could do it in a tight 10
But it
minutes.
literally explains to you everything you could possibly want to know. For instance, let's say shopping.
Okay.
Don't push in front of others at the counter.
Yeah.
If you have an urgent appointment and need to be served quickly, ask if other customers would mind you slipping in ahead of them.
That's good.
Yeah.
State precisely what you want and know what you can afford to pay.
Do you know, that's interesting because most people would not have the guts these days to tell people in front of them in the line that they're in a bit of a spot of bother and would anyone mind
Let
if
me
I
in.
jumped in
Yeah.
front. I think that we're so afraid of of confrontation that people would hesitate before asking that. But that makes perfect sense. And I can think of the odd occasion when I've done it, when I've said, usually it's with a crying child or something, where you go, I'm really, really sorry. Is there any chance I could just jump in and pay for this one thing? I've had someone do it to me once or twice, but it's not really a thing, is it? Most people just suck it up and think, all right, I'm at the back of the line, I'll have to cop it. But I wouldn't mind it if someone said to me, I'm running 3 minutes late for work. Do you care if I... No worries.
Yep.
If they just pushed in, then I'd grab them by the back of the shirt and throw them out the
Absolutely.
room.
Yeah.
You know? What else have we got? Can I have a look?
I like this one, hats, because we were talking about hats last week. Because I bought.
You're not a hat person,
No,
are
I'm not
you?
a hat person.
No.
I'm a cat person.
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
you are one bad day away from a fedora, I feel.
Oh. Well, you can borrow one of mine, because I bought some
Like if
hats
Jodie
in
left
Lawsie's
you,
auction.
Yeah.
you'd start wearing
Which we-
fedoras.
But also,
We talked about that last
do you
week.
smoke a pipe as well?
yeah,
No, I don't
you
smoke.
smoke a.
You used to smoke a cigar or a pipe?
Yeah, but I don't smoke as a rule.
Okay.
Oh, you clean living.
Like,
But
you know,
once
I've
upon a
smoked
time-
I've smoked a cigar.
I love a cigarette.
but I don't smoke as a rule. I don't
Okay,
make a
but
habit of it.
you have been seen wearing a hat and smoking a cigar before.
You definitely photograph with it, so it's just a prop. That's more
Well, I
embarrassing.
don't know. You go and find the photos. But it says about hats, and I love this. A man removes his hat when he stops to talk to a woman in the street, and
Okay, don't
replaces
start
it.
doing that. That would be very scary if you stopped a woman and then took off your hat.
Replaces it if he continues walking with her.
Oh.
He removes it when kissing a woman in public.
Oh, yeah.
But this is permissible only when he greets or leaves her. He also removes his hat when the national anthem is played.
Oh.
And this is a bugbear of mine. People
Yep.
don't take their hats off at the cricket or the footy or whatever when
Oh,
the
I
anthem
don't care
is
about that.
played.
Because what about the sun? Do you want people to get skin cancer?
No, but you take your hat off when the national anthem
You know
is
what
playing.
etiquette rule that my dad used to do, and I don't see any men do it anymore? He would stand up if a woman walked into the room.
Big time.
Yeah, I like that.
He would always stand up, and even like because my mum, my sister, and I could come like coming in from school. He would actually always stand up.
When you walk in the room.
When we were coming home from school, if we were like entering the house for the first time, Dad would stand up.
Wow.
So like, I know, but I didn't even really notice it, right?
But just on the etiquette thing, and older gentlemen and older ladies who might have a greater appreciation of etiquette than some of us younger folk.
okay,
I'm throwing us all
I'm
in the
actually
younger.
incredibly polite, but anyway.
Well, Arthur Laundy, who's
your boss, okay.
our new owners at 9 Radio now, Tapped Media, 2GB, 3AW.
I like
whatever.
Arthur because he'll always answer the phone and
Well-
then he'll pretend he has somewhere to be, which I think is
Yeah.
great.
Arthur is 85, and I know this story about Arthur of he was sitting around at one stage having a conversation with another man in the company of his longtime PA. And this other guy was dropping F-bomb after F-bomb after F-bomb, and Arthur politely reminded him that this woman was sitting with them. And he said, oh, yeah, sorry about that. And then he said, F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb. And he said, mate, I don't think you're hearing me. I'm just reminding you who's sitting here. But when you're used to dropping F-bomb after F-bomb, it's very hard to all of a sudden rein it in.
Yep.
So the third time he did it, Arthur said, you're obviously not listening to me and therefore don't respect me, so I think our meeting's over. And this was with a really important and wealthy person.
Right.
But someone used that early on with me. They said, just a warning with Arthur, just be conscious of your language around Arthur. And I remember asking Arthur about it, and he said, mate, if I'm at the pub with people and everyone's just having a beer and they want to tell a story and there's an F-bomb or whatever, I don't mind. But if you're in the company of a woman
Yeah.
and you're using that kind of language, then I'm going to step in and remind you of who's sitting there. I found that really interesting and quite endearing when I heard
I
that.
think
Well, I
it's
think when
charming.
old men do it, it's really charming. I don't know if it would feel condescending if someone my own age did it, if that makes sense. But my dad would never let anyone swear in front of me, and he would stop them and say, "My daughter's."
And your
standing
dad
right
was
here."
a publican, so
Yeah, and he was old. Like he was also like an old
Yeah.
dad, right? So he was he died at 87 when I was like 28 or something. You know what I mean? Like so he was an old dad. But yeah, he was incredibly polite, and you don't speak like that. And in some ways, I think I used to always say my dad was sexist, but in a way that only benefited me, which was like it was a different rule for men, it was a different rule for women, but the women rule was way better. You know, you don't swear.
But this
You're-
is the beauty of chivalry.
yeah, you know, and Mary's dad obviously had a huge impact on her life because when I met Mary and I said, where does this big personality come from? And she was explaining to me about growing up above a pub. And she said, I'd come downstairs from the pub and obviously a lot of the time it would be a bunch of alcoholics down there and my dad who was the publican and they'd all be telling stories and telling jokes. And I think that's really interesting that Mary's obviously down there playing with corks under the pool table, as I
of
think you
course,
said.
Yeah.
She still loves corks.
Yeah.
And she's hearing all these wild stories and all these big personalities and all these crazy things, and they've all seeped into her DNA.
It's good
Yeah.
education.
Well, yeah, I think I was lucky to have a dad that, I mean, he was old, but he was funny. And my mum is very funny too, actually. And they taught me how to tell a good story. Like, and also, and I just saw you do this with your son. He would say, "This is my job," shake his hand. Like, they taught me people skills, right? Like, make eye contact, try and remember people's names, like shake someone's hand, like all of those things now, which I think having an old dad in some ways is quite good, because I think when I want to, I can be very well mannered because I understand the rules. And I often say, you'll like this, if a man can like maintain eye contact, ask how you are and ask you a question, often you leave the situation being like, am I in love with him? Because it's so rare that you're like, oh wow, like that, like. And there aren't that many men I know anymore that can like maintain eye contact and ask you general questions.
Well, what are they asking about then? What are you
they
talking about?
They don't know what to do. Like, so many people now don't know what to do socially. I notice it all the time. Like, if I'm on the bus, I think people in general want to be good people. Like, I think people in general, their instincts are good and kind. Like, I would say that as a general rule, right? But people don't know what to do anymore. Like,
Because we've just stopped dealing with other people. We've forgotten it.
I think people are nervous. I mean, I was walking the other day, and this sort of like pregnant woman, kind of like, she was fine, but she took like a bit of a tumble, right? And her things went everywhere. And there was like a teenage boy near me, and I said, I'm gonna go get her. You just go grab her stuff, like rally it together. He's like, oh, okay. And he was totally happy to do that. But then he sort of stood there, and I said, oh, look, sorry, I'm Mary. Like, what's your name? And we were talking to the pregnant lady. What's everyone, like, because he just didn't know what to do. He was lovely. He behaved perfectly. But he just doesn't know how to introduce himself. You know,
Okay.
and I get that that's probably like a bit of a nervous situation, it's a bit unexpected. But
he
I
might have
see
been
that.
a bit shell shocked too.
He was terrified. I was
and
being
he
a
might be
pregnant
thinking,
woman.
"Oh my God, this is Mary Madigan."
He definitely knows.
This
But I
is
just think people
my big moment.
People don't know how to. I don't think people know how to interact.
I'd say using people's names. This is a big one. I say to my kids all the time, like if we walk away from a scenario and
You're
I say,
really good at it though.
I'll say to Freddie, Pearl, or Goldie when we walk away, I go, "What's that guy's name?" And they'll go, "Caleb." And I go, "Why didn't you use his name when we were with him?"
Yeah.
Do you know how good it makes people feel when you use their name? If people say, "Good to see you, Mary. See you later, Caleb," that's your signal that I know who you are, and I obviously value enough that I've remembered your name. That can be hard when you're meeting lots and lots of people, but it's a big one. I would say to anyone, I certainly say to my kids all the time, if you know someone's name, please
Use it.
Use it.
I'm terrible with names. Like, it'll be one ear at the other. You have to repeat the name back. It's the only way I can remember a name. Because otherwise it's lost. You've got to use the name. But it's just a friendly thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think we've kind of forgotten how to be friendly.
I think people don't know how to bridge that gap anymore. Like, I think people really struggle socially, or even just to knock on your neighbour's door and ask them a question. Or
Yeah.
I just think, and I think people are more lonely because of it.
Oh, absolutely.
And maybe people get a bit freaked out because they think, well, hang on, what do you want from me? Where in a lot of circumstances, they don't want anything. They just want to have a chat. They're having a conversation, and sometimes people get a bit funny where they go, well, hang on a moment, what's this all about?
Yes.
You know, I love meeting new people. I'm turned 50 this year, and I'm convinced
You're
that a
having a
lot
big
of my
birthday
best
party.
friends, Mary's going to be at my birthday party.
No, I'm going to his birthday. You haven't been invited,
She's
Caleb.
invited herself.
I'm very excited. I'm going to smooth.
I'm convinced that some of my best friends in life I'm yet to meet. And
But that's interesting, because you hear a lot of people say, and I'm sure maybe you've heard this, like I hear people say all the time, I've got enough friends, I don't need any more friends.
I don't think that you can ever be in that
I
position.
agree, but I hear people, it's funny, I have a really good mate that I made in the last year, and he's new to Sydney, he's from Ireland, right? And we were talking one day, and I really liked him. Like, he works here actually, we're in the hallways. Every time we talk, we'd have a good laugh. And so I was like, hey, do you want to go get like a drink? And he was like, oh, like, yeah, that would be great. And he was just saying to me, he was like, oh, you're just very like friendly. And I was like, yeah, if I like someone, I'm happy to have a friend. And he was like, oh, it's interesting because people always say to me, oh, I have my friends.
Was this in the workplace?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you need to do next time is you say, would you like to have a consensual,
He's
platonic,
gay,
Well,
so it's fine.
it's funny you mentioned
gay
He's
drink?
You like gay
Gay
drink.
drink.
You mentioned this, Ben.
Yes.
There is a bit here on office dating.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh
yes.
yeah.
Now, it says, dates with older men in the office, whether they mention it or not,
Older
they are
men?
usually married, most often lead to office gossip, unhappiness, and even loss of the job. Smiling unconcern and a firm refusal to fraternise outside the office will soon stop unwelcome attentions from men in the office, including an amorous boss.
Have you ever had an office romance?
Yes.
With dare I ask-
Many.
With who? You name names.
Many.
Most of the people I've ever been with.
Oh, you.
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm an
going to say
office
most of
dater.
the people you
You're
worked with.
No, I'm an office dater.
You're on the prowl.
No, I'm not on the prowl.
Not anymore.
Mary.
You were on the prowl.
No, well, I wasn't never really on the prowl.
At the Christmas party, we had to look out for where Ben was.
No, mate. No, it's the other 364 days of the year,
Right,
Mary.
you
Like
were-
every day was Christmas for me. But I've just always fished off the company Wharf.
Yuck.
What's
can only
yuck about
use
So
that?
you're not a don't dip
What's
your pen in
yuck
the
about
company.
that?
I just makes me feel a bit ill. I just don't think you should be saying phrases like that.
Fishing off the company Wharf?
Yuck. I don't like that. I would never date someone in this industry. I think the men in this industry are so weird.
Oh, what's that say for us?
What would you... yeah. I don't think any of us want to date each other, so it stands. Have you ever dated Office?
Well, yeah, I guess by extension, not someone
Given
I've
it a crack.
worked with full time, but someone people I know through work. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I met my wife through work.
Yeah, I think a lot of people
Didn't you
meet
just
through
stalk
work.
her? You heard her on the radio and you rang her?
Yes, but it was like we're working in the same industry. I heard her on the radio and I
You
thought,
asked
boy,
for a
she
number
sounds
via
good.
someone
And
else, didn't you?
yeah, I called someone and first of all, I was just ringing to say how good she was. And
Yeah,
then,
sure. Yeah.
And then he said, no, I actually did not ask for her number. He just said to me, I said, she sounds good. She's so good live. And then he said, have you seen her? And I said, no. And he said, wait till you see her. And I said, what does that mean? And he went, see her, and hung up. I thought, okay, that's a bit weird. And then months later, I was at his 40th birthday party and this woman walked in and I said, who's that? And someone said, that's Jodie Spears. And I went, there you go. There's Jodie
Oh,
Spears.
that's lovely.
And of course, she just fell madly in love with me and couldn't help herself. And no, that's not how it happened.
No, I feel like you had to
and
wear
worked
her
and worked and
down.
worked and
I
worked
feel
and
like
worked.
she had reservations.
But, Jodie and I have spoken about this in that in our jobs, everyone's jobs are different, but so many jobs these days are so much more than just a 9 to 5, 8-hour arrangement, that you do spend a lot of time at work. You do interact a lot of the time with people who you work with or by extension, whether they're working for another station or another publication. So I don't think it's all that unusual. You've got to be careful if it's someone senior and someone junior, and that's where clearly these days you've got to go and declare that. Once upon a time, the woman was made to leave. That's what used to happen a lot of the time, that they'd say, oh, you've fallen in love with the man in the workplace. Oh, well, you're going to find another job. Well, how's that fair to the woman? I think you'd be better off just hooking up and having a good time and everyone moves on.
yeah, but then it's also so weird. Like, I've worked in offices where people are dating and you're like, oh, this is weird. Like,
And
I don't like...
What's weird about it?
It's a great way of getting a promotion.
It's a great way of getting a promotion for
What
you.
if you're going out with your boss?
Yeah, I've always been.
But I think as a woman, like, I've always been very careful. I've never wanted to date someone I work with. 'Cause I never want anyone to be able to say, like, oh, well, she did that because she was dating him. Like, that would make me feel really
But see,
uncomfortable.
they're going to
Fair
make
enough.
that stuff up anyway.
Yeah.
I've had those rumours made up about me anyway, where they go, oh, he's got this because of X, Y, Z.
'Cause
People
you're a
will
Nepo
always...
baby.
Because I'm a Nepo baby. So
Yeah.
people will always make stuff up about you anyway. So
So you may as well lean into
if you're going to fall in... Like, what would have happened if I had have said when I met Jodie, oh, no, hang on a moment.
But she wasn't working
Yeah.
with you, so that's fine. She's in the same industry.
Yeah. But I've had others who I have been working with on the same program or the same...
Yeah, I don't think you should be doing that.
Shouldn't be doing that?
You shouldn't shit where you eat. Sorry, that's like a beautiful...
And you had an objection to fishing off the company Wharf.
I know.
Don't dip your pen in the
But-
company ink is the other
Yeah,
one.
I just think it's not a good idea. Also, I think it's important to have a relationship that makes you realize work is not the most important thing.
Well, I think that can be true at the same time, can it
Yeah,
not?
but I think
Because
sometimes when people,
it
not all the
extends
time.
outside of the workplace.
But if you're
and-
working, like, think about when you hang out with your work colleagues, often you get together and you, like, complain about work or tell funny stories or gossip or
Sure.
whatever. I like that when I come home, like, Seamus doesn't care what's happened at news.com.au.
Right.
And
I get
he's on,
that.
like, a completely, it's also in a completely different world to me.
Don't you get home and go, all right, I'll take you through the top 10 trending stories today on news.com.au? You
that
don't do
sounds
that?
like
No.
really
That's
fun.
not the kind of...
really fun.
I tell him,
bedroom
like,
talk.
no, I
Yeah.
tell him the best gossip I've heard. He likes that because
All right.
I'm very good at
Well,
getting information out of people.
If you're going to go out with a journal, I think that's probably fair.
Yeah, you want gossip.
We should probably leave it there,
Yeah,
guys.
all right.
Sure.
Ben, thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thanks for
coming
Thank
coming,
you.
in.
Ben.
Could I have that book just before
Yeah,
we go?
absolutely. You have
Because
a
I'm
read.
going to be dealing with Mary's phone calls going forward, so I just think...
Oh, how do you
There is-
ignore a
there's a
journalist?
section in
and
there
I can
about
just
phone
open
calls.
it up whenever
Yep.
she goes, say, and I can answer straight out of the book. But thank you
100%.
so much for
Thanks
having me on.
coming.
And look, if Liz has another holiday or anything was to happen to her, which we don't want to happen,
You're trying to replace Liz.
then I will
wants the
barge my way in here and be involved.
Thanks.
We'll see you next time. Thank you,
so
Ben.
much,
Thanks,
Ben.
guys.